and welcome to the Solo for Life podcast. Today, I have Sight Plays PS2, and if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and explain your ambitions for YouTube.
Hi, I'm Pshyched PS2. I currently collect PlayStation 2 games, and on YouTube I've been playing through every single one of them. Currently up to game 360 now, and I have plenty more to go, so I have content for years to come.
All right, yes, I skimmed through your playlist just to see what kind of what you have experienced, and I want to be able to I want to ask you questions about specific games you have played, and I also want to mention and suggest some games you haven't played yet. And so let's go ahead and just start on very specific games. I want to go ahead and get this one out of the way. I saw your Twist Metal Black playthrough, and I noticed he picked Roadkill, and I was like, I wonder why he picked Roadkill specifically. And so I clicked on the very first video, and then I remembered, I was like, wait a minute, he has the Australian version. He's not getting all the cutscenes. He's not getting the story explanations. You're not even getting the story progression paragraphs in between loading screens. And I don't know how much. I don't know if how much you are aware of that was cut out, but it was amazing just seeing a complete censored version of Twisted Metal Black.
Yeah, I honestly had no idea. That's how in the dark I was about that game. I always thought that the game basically came like that, or like it was budget cuts, so they just cut it all out just to make it just more just playing the game. And honestly, there was no real choice, specified choice for picking a character. I just picked one. I think it might have been from a while ago when I played it a while ago. But yeah, I just played it that way. But the whole story thing not there was actually quite a shock when I heard that. So it's a bit unfortunate because it would have been really good to like experience the story for it, and maybe do the story for all the other characters as well.
So, is it illegal for you to play the full version of the game in Australia?
It was never banned. That's the weird thing.
Okay, it was just censored.
Yeah, it must have been, but again, like it's only rated M, or maybe it is rated MA15. I'm not too sure, but yeah, it makes no sense as to why it would have been censored anyway.
Wow. Okay. And does your version come with the little journal?
Uh, Not 100% sure. Like I'm not, it and this is in the manual. I'm not 100% sure about that one.
Okay. Yeah. The original release comes with a journal. If for some reason they left it out of the greatest hits, I don't know why. I actually purposely went to, let's just say Second and Charles, and I picked up Second. I don't know if you're aware of what Second and Charles is, but it's just basically a bookstore. But they also sell old video games as well, including some new ones if they happen to get them in. And so they had the original release there, and I bought it just because it had the journal, because the only copy I had was Metal Black was the greatest hits, and it didn't come with the with the journal manual. That's really cool. It comes with a unique art, and so I bought it so I could put it in my greatest hits case.
Yeah, I'm just assuming it's like I think we've got like Elizabeth's bookshop over here, or like secondhand books, but nothing like I've never heard of that before. But yeah, I like that sounds like a good idea to put into your greatest hits thing.
So have you played Twist Metal Head On Extra Twisted Edition? It's another PS2 game for Twist Metal. It's a port from the PSP of Twist Metal Head On, but it includes removed levels from the Lost Twist Metal Black sequel.
That was never released in the PAL territory.
Ah, okay. So,
Yeah, so that would probably be something if I ever or like if I ever buy the or once I ever start buying the American exclusives, I would get around to playing that one.
okay. Yeah, hopefully you can get the full version of Twist Metal Black and just experience those stories, because it's some of the best storytelling I've seen in gaming. I love how dark it is. It's absolutely brutal. And I couldn't help but laugh every time I saw a cutscene on the gameplay footage you had, because after you defeat a minion, you get knocked out. You're like, oh man, you just wake back up and just go outside the gate. It was really weird because that's when a cutscene showing the story of the character and their motivations on why they're in the contest and everything. It's usually the longest part, the longest cutscene in the game, and it's just completely removed. It's absolutely incredible just seeing how much has been removed from the game. Like, see, normally the beginning and the end are the shortest cutscenes, but like I said, the middle is where the big meat of the character stories is at.
Yeah, jeez. I definitely need to experience that. Definitely.
Yes, there's a secret character you unlock by beating the game with all the characters, and during the little loading screens, see some characters do the secret characters. Some of them have cutscenes and some of them don't. Like there's this one character in particular. He has no cutscenes at all, and during loading screens, he's got numbers. So you had to decipher them in order to read and understand what his story is.
That's actually really cool.
Yes.
It sounds like one of the first sort of you get a whole bunch of games nowadays which do that nowadays. They include a sort of like a built-in like a hunt, basically trying to figure out what the Easter egg is, sort of like in the real world. But that's actually very very interesting. Something like that was
Yes.
in the game way back then.
It's a shame that they never made a sequel to Black 2, Just Metal Black 2, because, I mean, there's so much they could have done. And, I mean, Twisted Metal for PS3 was okay. I thought they went a bit too far with the combat gimmicks. It's one of those things where they try to go way too big, and what they had was good enough with Twisted Metal Black. There was no reason to go further than just car combat. The only thing that I really want is just new arenas, new characters, new stories, and just a sequel of a game that we love. We don't really need all these extra gimmicks to make things so flashy. We're like, ooh, shiny new, nuke navigation missions. I mean, I'm like, no, 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 no. This is car combat. Just keep it simple, keep it straight. There's no reason to go off the path here. Let's just bring me new characters, bring some returning old faces, and give us some dark stories that's going to mentally challenge us on the way through, and help have us psychologically try to figure out what the character's going through, or may not even come close to figuring out, because some of these characters are absolutely insane. But Twisted Metal Black was in my opinion, the best Twisted Metal that they have achieved, and I really, when if they ever do create another Twisted Metal game, I just hope that they kind of dial it back, because we don't need racing, we don't need any of that stuff, we don't need all those humongous boss fights. I mean, I must admit, I do like the Sweet Tooth boss in the PS3 version, because I love platforming. But there's this one boss where you're chasing a robot around, and it's really boring. It was totally unnecessary, and I hope they step away from that if they ever do decide to make another Twisted Metal game.
I've definitely heard that Twisted Metal game was quite a disappointment. I've never played the PS3 version, but from the sounds of it, like it just sounds like another like generic racing game with extra things into it, which is
Now,
a bit upsetting.
oh, sorry.
Oh no, it's a bit upsetting, like compared to like what the actual thing is, where Twisted Metal, as you said, is like specifically car combat, like
Hmm.
games like Vigilante 8 and what's another, like Carmageddon is a similar sort of thing as well, but like they're their own universes, and you don't want to like bring other like Need for Speed into it, like because there's like there's no point for that.
Right, exactly. And uh, I mean, Twisted Metal for PS3, the gameplay is fantastic. When it's just sticking to the car combat, it is absolutely brilliant. The jumping feels smooth, the turning around and aiming feels fantastic. However, and the levels designs are also really good. The problem is when they just start bringing in those racing gimmicks, and I mean, technically they kind of do the whole battle royale thing where you got to go to a specific spot in the level to battle, and that's actually not that bad. I don't really mind that change, because it does force players to go into one specific area to fight. Let's just say, for example, one area forces you to fight on ice, so you're slipping and sliding around trying to shoot other enemies. I like that, because I mean, it forces you to get into obstacles that you probably wouldn't normally get into, and so that I do like. It can get annoying for some levels, and I feel like that maybe they shouldn't do it for some levels. But then again, maybe you should just learn how to navigate through levels, and you won't have a problem. Um, but like I said, that change was good. I feel like forcing someone into specific obstacles was actually a very, very good idea.
Yeah, especially for someone like Twisted Metal Black as well. Like the
Yeah.
whole point is it adds that level of challenge to the game as well.
Did you only play as Roadkill, or did you switch over to other characters just to try them out?
Uh, um, I think just for the playthrough, I think I only played one character. It's been a while since I played it. But I definitely only played the one character.
Okay, I definitely see Roadkill. He's kind of the most basic character, really. This is, which is why I was very interested on why you picked him. I mean, he's a he looks cool, I know, but his vehicle is just kind of, I don't know, very ordinary. He doesn't really have anything too unique about his attacks. Now you got a vehicle like Yellow Jacket, where he gets spikes that sticks out of the side of his vehicles, and when you can either choose to shoot the projectiles out, or you can ram into an opponent and they can take damage. Sweet Tooth is probably a very popular choice because he actually turns into a robot and drives around shooting tons of missiles at opponents.
Yeah, yeah, I honestly cannot remember why I chose it. Maybe he did look cool. That's probably why. That's probably the easiest
Yeah.
explanation for that one.
Yeah, I think my Yellow Jacket is probably my favorite. I don't know. There's something about a taxi that's very appealing to me. A taxi in a car combat scenario.
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, it sounds like it's worth to go back and play it and try the other characters out.
Trying to remember. Junkyard Dog. He was a very good gimmick for Twist Metal Black because his whole gimmick was the fleeing vehicles at other opponents, and they kind of expanded on that on the Twist Metal PS3 version, where you could actually pick up any vehicle and throw it. So that was really cool. I kind of wish that that out of all the changes in Twist Metal for PS3, I really love that one because it made the the playing field a little bit more organic instead of just having the missiles kind of floating around. You can just simply pick up a vehicle and just throw it from the traffic. Just picking up pedestrian vehicles, or I think you can even pick up opponent vehicles. I believe it's been a while, so I'm trying my best to remember accurately as possible. I don't play it very often.
Yeah, no, yeah,
um,
I think, and as well when I remember playing it a long time ago as well. I think I remember using I can't really remember his name, the guy with the motorcycle.
Mr.
And I
Grimm.
realized like how bad of a character that is. Mr. Grimm.
Yes.
I think it's like not an easy character to use because it has like no health.
Right. Yes, his special attack is very devastating. His vehicle is very weak, but his handling is actually not that bad. He can get in and out of small spaces, and uh, but he's probably he. I guess he could be the most difficult character to play as. I'm not exactly sure. It would have to be something I would have to go through and evaluate properly. But considering his weakness, his weak armor, I'm imagine that you really got to learn how to play as that character to really get through effectively, especially with the his special is not a homing projectile. It's straightforward. It's pretty much just a stronger version of a power missile, but it feels really good nailing that strike.
Mm.
One thing interesting about the one reason why I cannot play the Twisted Metal games for PS1, and sad to say, is that a lot of them are just really, really broken. And I tried playing the first Twisted Metal for PS1, and Darkseid is the worst opponent to have because that, especially on hard mode, because it constantly shoots out freeze missiles, and you can't do anything about it. You just got to hit it and take it, and then hope that it doesn't happen again. But it seems like Darkseid just has an infinite amount of freeze missiles. It just really, really sucks.
I actually because the original the original Twisted Metal came out on the PS5, PS off the classics,
Mm-hmm.
the classics thing. I tried it out, and I agree. Like it's a ridiculously hard game, and I swear that like every character is aimbotting, and like you're gonna get hit by everything all the time, and it's such a difficult game. It could
Yeah.
easily be the control scheme as well, but it was just like for its time it might have been good, but you go back to it now and it's definitely it's just it's so difficult.
Yeah, the control adapt time is ridiculous. I mean, I had to spend maybe hours on it just so I can get the feel of controls, and then I go to play something more modernized, and it just kind of it spoils me, and so I have to go back and adapt all over again. So it's just not really worth the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, especially when you're already used to a specific control scheme as well.
I have to give myself praise when I was a kid and just not not letting stuff like that bother me back then. Because I mean, back when I was a kid, I just jumped on and played. I mean, there was really no control adapt time because there was nothing spoiling us during that time. Like what am I thinking about? The early 2000s, I suppose. Just jumping on and it just weird controls is just what we had to deal with. There was really nothing refined or smooth like as today. Like I guess we started really seeing refined movement in the PS3 era. And sorry, I'm going to be speaking in a PlayStation sort of talk because that's the main console I use. So I apologize if I'm not using any Xbox or PC language. but
Yeah, no, I completely I agree. Like it wasn't until like PS2, PS3 when we became and like first person shooters were like this exactly like this. So every first person shooter from that point always had like R2 as the shoot or
mm-hmm.
R1 as the grenade. Where like back then like the controls were always all over the place, and you had to basically get used to every game had a specific control scheme, and it would have been different. I think Medal of Honor on PS1 is different to like Call of Duty on PS2. Like the control scheme is just completely whack.
Oh yes, and I remember when I played Grand Theft Auto 4 for the first time, and I was so confused at the setup because I was so used to square being gas, acceleration, and so I get on and I'm pressing square. I'm like, what the heck's going on? Why am I just, how come my vehicle's not moving? And then finally figured out that pressing R2 was gas. I'm like, oh, so this is what they're changing it to, and and it's been like that ever since. I mean, because you got to think, because I'm jumping from San Andreas to Grand Theft Auto 4, and so I mean, of course, acceleration was square, so it was such a thing to kind of didn't take I don't remember it I don't think it took me that long to really adjust to it. It was just very shocking that because even Twisted Metal was kind of a similar setup where if you press but you could also switch the control setup, but usually square was gas as well. But Twisted Metal Black eventually switched the acceleration and reverse to the joystick on the right joystick, so it was definitely a welcome change.
I always thought X was the acceleration for the older Grand Theft Auto games.
mm,
I
you
remember ever being
You might be right,
square.
actually. I might be thinking about Twisted Metal. So yeah, it's probably X then. Either way. I mean, they switched it to the
Yeah,
shoulders, which it was definitely a lot easier on the hands.
yeah, 100% yes. There's a reason I play like Gran Turismo using the joysticks because like holding the button down for extended periods of time is just basically puts a hole in my thumb.
Oh wow, yeah, that I got a flashback. Back when I played Nintendo 64, the joystick pad came off, and I only had a little tiny stem to use on the right,
Oh,
and so my thumb was sore a lot. I
I thought I thought
huh?
I thought you were gonna go with the older Mario Party mini game where you have to spin the joystick around in a circle and the middle of your palm has like a burnt in circle on it.
Um, I can't remember what happened to that pad exactly, but I'm trying to remember what kind of I was probably playing Castlevania 64 a lot, and that was hurting my thumb. And so, oh yeah, okay. So the next game I have that I noticed that you played through was God of War. So I didn't.
Fantastic game.
I'm sorry.
It's a fantastic game.
Oh, you enjoyed it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Man, I remember playing that back in 2005. I think I might have told the story before on the podcast, but my father really wanted to see that game play out. But it was and I was still underage, and so he was like, "Son, I really want to see this game, but I suck at video games, so I want to watch you play it. But your mom will not let you keep it. So if you beat it in 7 days and we get our money back, that would be fantastic." And so I'm like, "All right, challenge accepted." And I beat it within 7 days, and we got our money back. And then I eventually got it when I got a little older. But that's one of my favorite gaming moments.
That's a really cool game. That's a really cool like the sort of memory.
Yeah, it's just I even remember moments when I was playing it during that week. just for some reason I remember the swimming section where you had to go through and break through the little grates or whatever, and pulling the levers to get through.
Oh yeah,
Because
yeah.
I remember being pressure. I think that day I was being pressured to go ahead and finish it, and I was like, ah, crap, I'm running out of days. How much more of this game is left? I mean, it's a blast, but I got to return it at some point, and I don't want to be I don't want to be left hanging. But um, questions in terms of how did you feel about the very few boss fights in God of War? Because you have the Hydra, the armored Minotaur, and then Ares at the end.
So the first two bosses are fine. Um, I will say that Ares was like one of the hardest bosses at the point when I was playing around like when I played it way back then anyway. Because I don't know what it is with that fight. That fight in general is just such a hard fight. I think I even
Mm-hmm.
struggled on my playthrough again. Um, and it doesn't really like build you up to that difficulty. It sort of just like throws you into
Yeah.
this fight of this guy that can absolutely obliterate you really quickly.
Yes, it's pretty much a three phase fight because you got to fight Ares. Yeah, he's got his little spider arms, and then the second phase is you protecting your wife and child by all the Kratos clones. They're just throwing a massive war at you,
Yeah, yeah,
and
I remember that. Yeah.
that part that was the hardest part on the hardest difficulty of God of War. I was pulling my hair out. Definitely one of the hardest moments I've ever had in game. I don't even know how I would handle it today. I've been so scared to go back to it and see if I could do it as a, I'm sure if I did it as a kid I could do it now, but it's just I don't know. I feel like once I did it once, I really don't want to do it again because it gave me it's just I spent so much time on it, and then including the challenges afterwards. But I was definitely determined back then. But I forgot the third phase. The third phase relies. I think the third phase is kind of similar. It might be. I'm pretty sure attacks are added, but this time, let's see, or maybe I'm trying to remember. What was the biggest difference with the third phase?
Yeah, there's no health bar. It's more like the health moves to one side, and once it fills up on one side, then that's it. And any attack that they do basically goes the opposite way. And technically, the fight could go on forever until you actually do enough damage to have the bar fill up on Ares' side.
Okay, I was wondering if that was in the first phase also or not, but it looks like it's just regular play in the first phase. And then in the last phase, it switches over to that little what would you call it? I don't think it's similar to Punch Out's life bar. I don't think I'm. Sorry, I'm just trying to think about other similarities, but I can't right now. I'm the only thing that's popping in my mind is Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
I've never played that one, so I couldn't really comment on that.
But anyway, yeah, man, that that one moment, that second phase, because it sucks because you have to hug your mother and I mean, sorry, not your mother, but your wife and child, and it just feels I don't know. I have to go back to it and just to see exactly how viable it is in terms of strategy. But it is so incredibly chaotic. It might just be a whole survival situation. I mean, how in the world you can't even exploit anything there because everything is just so open and it's so crowded. You can't exactly take anything to your advantage in terms of any kind of timing or any kind of skill. You basically just got to fight for your life, and I think that was probably the intentional design. It's like, hey, we're going to make this as chaotic as possible and make it really, really thin. So by the time it's over with, you barely have a drop of health left. I need to watch more people playing on hard mode and see how they handle it these days. Because I mean, I remember the moment I got that last Kratos. It was so utterly satisfying, and plus, you had to keep your PS2 on because there was no saving in between. If you turn your PlayStation off, then you got to do all that all over again. And I'm pretty sure that happened to me a few times, but I don't remember the last fight with Ares being as problematic as that platforming with the multiple Kratos clones.
Yeah, I can sort of remember exactly what you're talking about as well. Like maybe my mind blocked it out because of how annoying it was, but but
Oh,
yeah, no, I can definitely remember that sort of thing. And I can't remember, but like, can you accidentally damage your your wife and child as well when
Um,
you're flailing.
I don't think you can damage your wife and child. I don't remember that because I remember your. I mean, no, no. I'm pretty sure you can't damage your wife and child.
Yeah, I must be remembering it wrong because if you could, I'd probably make another horrible, make it even harder than what it already is.
Yeah, because you gotta have crowd control, and you're swing. You're having these blade. I mean, you have the blades of chaos that already have such a wide range. So yeah, that doesn't sound right.
Nah, yeah, I'm just remembering it wrong then.
Trying to remember other little moments. One thing I really loved God of War as a child is when you would get used to these combat scenarios. Like let's just say they throw you an ogre, and like you kill the ogre, and you already thought it was kind of difficult, and then later on you get two ogres. I'm like, okay, well let's just handle this and get it taken care of. And then even later in the game, you're dealing with enemies. They throw you an ogre, you kill it. They give you another wave of enemies, then another ogre, and you're like, oh my goodness, how am I supposed to do all this? And so it was a very interesting challenge to overcome because just you had to think about how to handle all these enemies all at once. And plus, I think God of War probably has one of my favorite healing systems, which is the chest. And you also had to time it. You had like two timing systems to deal with. You had to time it while dealing with enemies while they're you kind of had to push enemies away, lead them on so you can go grab that chest real quick. But also there were some chests that were switching from health to magic, so you had to make sure you timed it just right. You had to push the enemies back and then time yourself just right to get that chest and open it to get some health. And I love that so much. I hate that they took it away from the later God of War games where you just simply step on a crystal. I hate it, but it's just how things are right now.
Yeah, no, I remember that. Like, and you would accidentally just like get the mana instead of getting the health, and it just frustrates because like you basically just like you have like a death sentence now unless you can survive the oncoming onslaught.
Yes, I mean, man, if only the new God of War games did that. Like, they just give me a chest that I have the time and so I can open it while I don't know, whatever. It's whatever. Um, all right, so the next game I have. Oh yeah, I was originally going to just give you a list of games to see if you played them, but I was like, no, no, I'm not going to be that lazy. I'm going to go back and look and see what games he's played. And so I noticed you did play Shadow of the Colossus. It's not the upgrade; it's the original one, right?
Yes, 100% the original. Yeah,
And that was like 8, 9 years ago.
when I played it,
Yeah.
it was definitely I think it was game number 10. So it was the 10th game I played on my channel. So we September it would have been towards the end of 2014. So yeah, about 9 years ago.
Wow. So I mean, have you played the upgrade?
I have the upgrade. I think I might have played it a while ago, but I can't remember it. Um, but
Yeah,
yeah,
it's phenomenal. I mean, I thought the PS2 version looked good, but when they upgraded it for PS4, I mean, I was like, yeah, this is the this is definitely the definitive version of the game. It looks beautiful, and little tiny little aesthetics that they added in was, just so sweet. Just going through the forests in Shadow Colossus is just so utterly beautiful, and I love the little Last Guardian Easter egg that they placed in. Um, I was really hoping Blue Point would add in the removed colossus, the colossi, whatever. And but
yeah, like
they don't seem to be interested in adding removed content. I guess they're worried that they're going to remove the original spirit of the game, and they also did that. They also didn't add anything add any unused content for the Demon Souls upgrade, like the Broken Archstone. They mentioned it, and they're like, nah, we just don't want to ruin the spirit of the game. I'm like, but come on, just think about the possibilities. But oh well, we got what we got, and I just appreciate that we can kind of play these older games at a prettier look and more refined, smooth movement.
yeah, it's really good to bring in like the newer generation to play the games that we played way back when, and like just see what it looks like. Like this is what they want, this is what they envisioned it to look like, but that's what it sort of felt to us back then as well.
Hmm. One of my favorite removed my favorite removed colossus is the spider. No wait, no, the monkey colossus, the one where he's hanging from the cavern spikes. I know there's another name for them, but I can't think of it right now. But he basically just swings around. I don't know how you would climb up on him. There was one guy, I think his name was Nomad Colossus. He made these videos.
He's the number one for finding that sort of stuff.
Yes, and he was speculating, you know, how these fights would have turned out, and it was just so nice having someone on YouTube actually digging deep into Shadow of the Colossus. Um,
He's even mentioned in the credits of the PS4 version.
oh, that's right, I forgot about that.
Because they actually did add something new to that game. They added the you had to find those little signs on the
Yes.
like tiny little things on the wall, like 70 of them or something, and unlocked like a new sword.
Oh, it does unlock something.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that. I thought it was just there just to be funny or something.
They definitely added something like I think it was more of a nod. Sort of like I think it was for Nomad Colossus. I can't remember exactly, but I know you find all these different like markings all over the world, and then it unlocks something right at the end of it.
Okay, well, that's definitely cool though. But do you have a favorite Colossus fight that you remember?
Number 13,
Number 13.
always number 13, the
Remi-
Phalanx, or the Phalanx is what they call it, what the fans call it, but it's the flying serpent in the desert.
oh, yep. Okay, sorry, I had to be reminded. I can't remember their names.
Oh, yeah, no, like I don't know what it is about that fight, but that was always such a good fight where you're this massive desert, and then you unlock once you go over to the point where the Colossus comes out, you're basically running full speed on aggro, trying to get onto its wing, and then you slowly climb all the way to the end. I don't know what it was, the music and everything for that game and that level was just amazing.
Yeah, that one was definitely spectacular. I guess I'm not personally a fan of chasing him around, but it definitely when you get on top of him and everything, it's just absolutely beautiful. I think my favorite one probably has to be the last one. Really, I love how brutal it is to fall off and having to climb back up, and it's just when you finally get to stabbing him in the head and everything like that, and it just the little just the animations and how slow everything is and how majestic it is. It's just it's beautiful to me every single time. I also have a funny moment while fighting that boss. I just got finished jogging outside and I didn't have a shirt on, and I was leaning up against the exercise ball that I was sitting on at the time when was playing video games, and I slipped and fell on top of my back, and it knocked the air out of me, and I couldn't talk. I felt like I couldn't breathe. and this was the original release of Shadow of the Colossus. This wasn't the upgrade, but I just remember during that moment I was just trying to climb up, and I fell, and I also fell at the same time off my exercise ball. So it kind of added. It was like, oh man, the immersion's great.
God, if you fail in the game, you fail in real life.
I've never had the air knocked out of me like that before, so it was just very jarring. I was like, oh shoot, did I destroy myself just now? I mean, I was able to get up and walk around. I was living with my uncle at the time, so I'd make sure I walked in there just in case I would pass out and he would know about it. And he was like, "What's wrong with you?" And I was like,
Just,
and then I got
just
my
trying to take a breath.
yeah, and then I was able to speak again. I was like, never mind, and I went back to my room. uh,
Yes. Yeah, I know. I think I broke a rib.
so I noticed you did play Tony Hawk Underground. How was that experience?
I love that game so
Ooh,
much.
that's one of my favorite games
That
of all time.
game, that yeah, that like there was a collection. Sorry, not a collection. Like when I first got the game way back in the day, I asked my dad. I asked and asked and asked. Dad, I want this game, and I got the bundle for that game, which came with a camera. Now that bundle is very, very hard to find. It only ever came in Australia. I'd love to buy it again. I've only ever seen it once recently, and someone wanted more than $1,000 for it. Um, but like I remember that game so much. Like that whole game is super nostalgic for me, and the entire game is just fantastic.
uh, so, in terms of how much you've gotten done, I know usually with the PS2 games you just usually just do a playthrough. So with Tony Hawk Underground, have you tried doing 100% on it, trying to like beat it on sick mode, get all the gaps? What have you exactly done?
So most of my games when I play through them, I will just go for the credits roll.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, like I understand like people like like you want to complete it 100%, but when you have like over 2,000 games to complete 100%, there comes a point in time when like there's gonna take like longer than like anyone really has time for.
Gotcha.
But like some games I'd love to do it for. Like I'm trying to attempt it with Lego Batman just to see if I can do it. I might even try and do it with like for Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4, which again is another game, which is one of my favorite games. I haven't played it yet, but I'd love to try and if I can like finish everyone's Pro Challenge, which is like the one challenge you unlock at the end of it all.
Yeah, the Tony Hawk Underground, the hardest difficulty sick mode is just definitely one of my favorite hardest difficulties I've ever experienced because they actually add interesting things to make the game more difficult. Like for the trick scenarios where you're in the competitions, they actually give you more tricks to do. They give you higher scores to do, and it's not like some kind of combat, some kind of cheap combat adjustment where they just bloat out the enemy health. They actually, and it just, I don't know, the bloating works in Tony Hawk Underground. It's not like it overextends its welcome. It just kind of gives you just a little bit more, just kind of gives you a tighter timing, and it's just a significantly more satisfying. It's a shame that no one really talks about it that much because, I mean, of course, when you have difficulty options, the hardest difficulties are typically ignored. At least I haven't seen. At least I don't see people talking about the hardest difficulties in a lot of games that have easier options. Um, but it's like with Shadow of the Colossus, the hardest difficulty. No one ever talks about that, about how they add symbols to the Colossi, where you had to spend more time with the Colossus in order to defeat it. We don't ever hear anybody talk about that, and that's just quite a shame because it's just such. It just adds more to the experience. It adds freshness to a playthrough, even though you've experienced it before. But let's just say this time you got to go to the left arm of the Colossi, other than the right. I mean, definitely the biggest notice in change is the third Colossus, the really tall sloth Colossus, because you gotta you got to go around his arm, you got to go on his stomach, then you got to go on top of his head. You got to pretty much go all over the dude, and it's just such a shame that it's just nothing like that's ever mentioned on the forums, and people are always just talking about just the initial experience, but they never talk about that extra addition that makes the game even more special.
Yeah, I think like what would help with that sort of stuff is like having like an extra bonus cinematic or something like that, like a bonus story, like something comes up like when you finish Jack and Daxter 100%. If
Mm-hmm.
you get everything, you get like a small extra cutscene, but like it's nothing really, but like it's that small extra which sort of like makes you want to do it. So like I don't know what the bonuses are if you complete Tony Hawk's Underground on the sick mode. And I'm not sure on the hard mode of Shadow Colossus what you get. I know you get stuff for time trials, but I don't know if you can get anything for like completing the game on hard.
Um, I, I know that yeah, you get like a different time trial with different rewards for Shadow of the Colossus. Now, Tony Hawk Underground, if you defeat it on sick mode, I believe you unlock the creature from the Black Lagoon that you see in the beginning
But
cinematic that
yeah,
drags Eric down into the sewers.
yeah. Okay, yeah. I swear I must have done that. I must have done that when I was a kid. I must have.
I I remember when I had Tony Hawk Underground 2, I was trying to do all the gaps and everything, but my game kept crashing, so I kept losing all of that data, and so I never could do it because every time I was in the process of getting all the gaps, my I would just my save would get corrupted.
I have one horrible story for that game for that that sort of thing that happened to me. Like the whole like save file corrupting.
Mm-hmm.
It was the first time I played through Grand Theft Auto 3, and I got a 98% complete. I've almost finished the game, and my save file corrupted.
Uh,
And it's upsetting because there's so much stuff to do in that game, and it's like, I think once it corrupted, I tried it. I started it again. I was like, what, I can't be bothered. I've lost all that. I'm not even gonna worry about it anymore.
was that the only time you? It can't be the only time you've lost data, right?
No, no, no. But that is definitely the most significant. I
Man.
think during my playthrough, I lost my data for The Simpsons Hit and Run actually corrupted. I was about halfway through the game, and I had to replay the whole game up to that point, um, so I can continue recording it. It sort of shows during my playthrough of that game as well, because I actually finished it the other, I think late last year or early this year. I can't remember exactly. Um, but like it's just getting back to that point where I was. It is so frustrating. You lose all the motivation.
Mm-hmm. I remember my cousin. He was trying to play San Andreas, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, and I had almost everything 100%. Almost had all the clams, almost had all the clothes bought, and he went to go play, and he erased all of it.
Oh no.
And I didn't get mad, you know. I it didn't. I mean, I was disappointed and and sad, but I didn't get mad at him because I was like, well, I don't know. To say, I guess that's gonna save me time. I can move on to a different game. I don't know. I was just kind of, I don't know. Maybe I just, maybe I was so shocked that it didn't bother me. But, um, but yeah, that was one moment. I had another moment that actually destroyed my hard drive for my PS4. I was actually playing Red Dead Redemption 2, and during one of the missions, I must have been maybe 6 hours in the game, possibly, and this my PS4 just crashed and I lost everything on that hard drive. And of course, I had cloud data that I was able to restore some of it from, but I had to start Red Dead Redemption 2 all over again. And I was already not really a big fan of the game, but I really wanted to finish it, seeing if it would get better. But I eventually, got back to where I was and I finished the game. But that was definitely
Yeah,
a big blow.
yeah. Like you just sort of like lose motivation. Is
Yeah.
like one of the things that happens.
Mm-hmm. Trying to think about. I know I have other stories, but I guess they're not that memorable. But one thing I can say is that the From Software games, if I ever lose any of the characters, like any of the save data, I actually kind of prefer it because I just love starting those games all over again anyway. Because I'm always starting new characters in the first place. Because I have like very specific spots where I get to in the From Software games, and then I just kind of start another playthrough. I kind of have like what I call unofficial final boss fights because I don't ever like rolling the credits in From Software games because usually I just don't care for the final boss fight. So I kind of just pick a random boss at the very near the end of the game where I'm like, okay, that's where I'm going to end my playthrough, and then just start another character, use another build. But only for very specific reasons. Like there's not really a really huge reason for me to kill Gwen at the end of Dark Souls unless I just want his weapon. But that's really the only reason why I would want to finish the game, unless I just want to fight the Asylum Demon in a different way with different weapons, because you only have so much you can do at the very beginning. But it's like I've lost my data for Dark Souls, Dark Souls 2, Bloodborne. Well, no, actually not for Bloodborne because I still have my very first character. But I've lost data for some of the games, or even when I just start a new port. I mean, I just have no problem just starting all over again because I mean, like I said, I mean, those are my favorite games of all time. So it's so enjoyable just going through and just learning more. Because I mean, I don't like being overpowered in those games. I like finding a new restriction, a new challenge to just have myself learn more about the game as I go through. Because if I'm just going through and one-shotting everything, I just don't see the appeal in that. So if I'm finding a boss and I'm learning how it works, I'm just getting more out of the game, getting more value. I mean, I have thousands of dollars worth of experience in these games just because of just how much I've learned from them. I mean, heck, I learned something new today in Dark Souls because I have like some kind of residual fear of Blighttown, and I was down there actually practicing on Quaylight because I've been doing these jump attack only challenges, and I was like I had to go explore around because I needed a humanity, and you can actually get a humanity if you kill a certain amount of enemies in the area. And so I'm going around killing enemies, and then I noticed that there was it looked like a sludge creature. I was like, what the heck is that? Is that I don't recognize that. So I went over there, and it turns out there's this enemy I have never seen before because I've never been brave enough to go further into Blighttown because I've always had that residual fear back from 2011 of like, yeah, don't go further into Blighttown because there's poison and all kinds of crap you don't want to deal with. And today I just since I needed some humanity and I was going around killing enemies, I discovered something I'd never seen before. I discovered a weapon I've never picked up and used before. So it's just the game is just always introducing something new, even if it's just small technical details, or just simply something as simple as me not going into one small space of a level. And it's just these games are always offering something new, and other games technically can offer something new, but it's just something about Dark Souls and Elden Ring, Bloodborne. It's just when you're playing a game that you love so much and you just find something new, it's just always so fascinating.
Yeah, especially like for those games, because like you're basically free to explore wherever you want to go,
Mm.
and you can choose whichever way you want to go. Actually, I did read something the other day. An Elden Ring player, after like 900 hours of playing, found a new summon that didn't actually like a new summon that wasn't like that they've never seen before, and it all depends on like what part of the storyline or what part of the quest lines you're at
Mm.
to actually like activate different summons. But so it's like this, like even after like 900 hours, there's still stuff in the game in Elden Ring that's like you're still learning to find, learning and finding, and like it sort of like makes it all worthwhile.
Oh yes, it's just absolutely fascinating. It's just it's also a shame. I mean, I mean, of course, people can play however they want. It's just it really kind of breaks my heart when someone just goes into a boss and just kills in 2 hits. I'm like, the boss is so much more than that, and you're just going in there and getting it over with in 30 seconds. I just don't get it.
Yeah, again, it's the freedom of playing however you wish to play.
Right. Yeah, it's just people. I guess a lot of people they just like being overpowered. They like playing like gods. I mean, that's for one reason. I guess you can look back to the PS2 games, the cheat codes, where you had stuff like God mode. I don't know how many people used God mode back in the day. I mean, I used it myself, but I mean, not that much. But I cheated. For I used God mode and everything to beat Twist Metal Black with the secret characters because I wanted the extra secret character by beating the game with all the characters, and I didn't feel like working for it. But I was a kid, so I forgive myself. But all right, I think I'll go ahead and throw some PS2 suggestions your way if you want to take them.
Sure.
Have you played Jaws Unleashed?
No, but I do have it.
Okay,
I mean, like I've played a bit of it, but I haven't like played through it yet.
gotcha. Okay, well I definitely recommend that one. The two Castlevania games for PS2, Lament of Innocence and Curse of Darkness.
I have the first one. I do not have the second one yet.
Definitely recommend those. Oh yeah. So you haven't played God of War 2 yet?
Not yet, no. I actually still own the special edition from when I got it way back in the day as well. So it's sort of like an original game I've had just sitting here since I got it from when I bought it, or I think it was like might have been a Christmas present a long time ago. But um, I I look forward to playing it. But I do also enjoy like spreading out all the good games because I don't want to like because if it was up to me, I'd play all the good games and then for the next like 10 years of playing this channel, it's just gonna be all shovelware crap.
Mm-hmm.
So so there's a lot of games I haven't played yet, which I'm really looking forward to playing. But it's just I'll wait until that's one reason why I do the wheel decide
Yeah.
because it makes it easier for me to play the next game that gets chosen through like basically randomizer and getting people's suggestions as well.
All right. Yeah, I definitely understand. I mean, just at your own pace. I mean, I'm not. I definitely don't want to force you to play something you don't want to. I mean, did the wheel land on Wolverine's Revenge, or did you just decide to play it?
I just decided to play it.
Okay. I'm like, dang. I hope I didn't pressure him into playing that, but so I noticed you only play maybe 20 minutes at a time.
Yeah. I think I like to have like a limit of when I play because again, like people are only going to watch it for so long, and I don't know who watches all my videos, so it doesn't really matter too much. But I like to make it like sort of like bite-sized segments so someone can watch it now and watch later or whatever. And it makes it easier for me to record and edit as well.
Gotcha. Before I go deeper into Wolverine's Revenge, I got one more suggestion. Driver Parallel Lines.
Parallel lines,
Yeah.
yeah. I think I've played again. Like I might have been on the stream. I played like a little bit of it, but I've never actually played it. I do have it. I even have the steel book of it as well, which comes with like a
Ooh.
limited edition there. Got a little plastic slipcase over the metal cover, and it's got like a soundtrack and all that sort of stuff in it.
I didn't know there was a steel book. Is it
It was
different
only
from
ever
the main
released in the PAL
case?
territory, I think.
Do what?
I think it was only ever released in the PAL territory.
Oh, interesting. Hold on, let me look that up real quick. Steel book. Ah, all right. So I mean, it does look like the original case, but it's just okay. Wow, I got to get my hands on that.
I would love to get my hands on the Final Fantasy 12 steelbook, which only ever came out in America, because that actually looks really cool. And they also have a different Resident Evil 4 steelbook in America too.
Yeah, if I can get a hold of a steelbook, I will. Like I didn't buy the collection that includes the steelbook for Elden Ring. I bought the original release for Elden Ring, and then later on, I got the steelbook off of eBay. I think it was only $30. You got to grab those things quick while they're at low prices. But of course, if there's not that many being made, they're going to jump up pretty quickly. But I don't know how much the Elden Ring steelbook is valued at right now. But I guess I was really lucky that I only get it for $30. It's the one that has Godfrey and his cat.
Oh, yeah.
I can hear someone screaming out, "It's not a cat!" So
Godfrey and his kitty.
his little kitty. Yeah. I really want to get Baldur's Gate 3, but there's no physical copy for it, and that's just such a shame because I don't want to get it digitally. I don't like buying games digitally. I want the physical copy.
Are they not making at all a physical copy
I mean,
of PS5?
I hope they will. I mean, it's just weird for them not to have a physical copy, in my opinion. It's just, I don't even mind if they don't ever have a steelbook. I just want to have a case I can put up on my shelf.
I have an interesting steelbook story. You know, the remake of Dead Space that came out recently.
Mm-hmm.
There was a steelbook that was only ever released in Australia. I don't know why, but I was able to get a copy. I was able to get one, and the value of it is just skyrocketed because to get people in like America and all that, like they want it. You get the silver collectors, and it's quite interesting when they're only released in like a specific country or whatever, which again makes no sense. But it's just an interesting. Like, I've got it sitting there in like a nice little wrap, it hasn't even taken it out, so it's like pristine condition too. So it's good to have like interesting things like that.
Yeah. I have a funny story about a steel book. I was going to I was at a local game store, and I noticed I saw a steelbook. I was like, okay, what's this? And so because it didn't have the game title on the side like it usually does, and I opened it up and it had Kingdom Hearts 3 inside. I was like, this isn't what the Kingdom Hearts 3 steelbook looks like because I have the Kingdom Hearts 3 steelbook. And looking at it more closely, I noticed it was the Tomb Raider. Shadow of the Tomb Raider. It was
Oh yeah, yep.
Shadow of the Tomb Raider steelbook, and I even told the owner, I was like, "Hey, this game's in the wrong case," and she's like, "Oh, do you want to just take that? You know, yeah, I won't charge you." But I was like, "Oh yeah, I'll take it. Heck yeah, I got the game."
Yeah, I'll take that. Yeah.
So yeah, so that was really fun. It's so strange how she just looked at that and was like, "Oh, Kingdom Hearts 3." um, so getting back to Wolverine's Revenge, so you've played. So when you record, do you play and stream these at the same time, or do you just record these? Do you record some of them off and then public, or just you know schedule them to just air after you played and edit? Well, of course the most recent Wolverine's Revenge was edited because you skip a part.
Yeah, I had to because like I tend to like skip if I've already done it like a couple of times. I'll like if I keep dying and failing and go back to the start. Like this game, unfortunately, the moment you die, you sort of go back to the start of the level.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes it easier for the viewer and for me to edit if I just ignore the part like getting back to where I was previously. Um, like I'll never do it if it's the first time going through. Um, because like the way I want to do my channel was completely different to other Let's Players, where a lot of other Let's Players will only show the exciting parts and like over exaggerate their reactions to it all, and just have like a small like here's a 15-minute video of this game, where like my channel is a bit more different, a bit more boring, I would say, because I'm basically showcasing the whole game, or like the whole story of the game, I should
Mm.
say.
Yeah, man, I definitely like the calmness of your streams because I cannot stand these popular YouTube streamers that are just so loud and they cuss for every single word and they make all these bad jokes. It's just I don't know. It's really hard for me to get into a YouTuber gaming channel because it's just so much of the same stuff and I just rather watch something that's calm and some just very calm observations. And so that I'm so glad I was able to find your channel. Because I was like, yes, this guy's playing PS2 games, and he's just going through it, and he's just kind of speaking what's on his mind, and and you also engage with the comments as well. And it was just like, I think our first discussion was actually on your Lego Batman, one of your Lego Batman streams, and we had a nice
Okay.
little discussion about Lego games.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So yeah, so I'm like, sorry. Most of the videos I do, I just record offline. Of course, I like the whole streaming thing started recently, where I thought I'll stream specific games as well, and it's actually like making my progress faster, being able to stream like two games, like Wednesdays and Sundays, and like I usually play through. Actually, right now I'm playing through 7 games at the moment. And yeah, I schedule the videos during the week. I got like a proper schedule to keep to as well. So
Mm, okay. Um, So Wolverine's Revenge, you got the first 3 chapters out of the way. Have you played any more beyond what you've published on YouTube?
not yet. No,
Okay, so do you know what's have you even clicked next to see anything?
I have not.
Okay,
I,
gotcha.
I like to sort of experience it for the first time with everyone else.
Okay, gotcha. All right. Yeah. I definitely felt your pain in that second video.
God,
Those freaking dudes
it's
suck.
so annoying. It's like when they're walking forward towards you, just walking forward and like flailing their arms a little bit, and you just like you're caught in like an endless cycle of just taking damage. You can't do anything about it.
That's why I recommend doing the dive attacks, having your claws out and diving towards them, and just kind of backing away and repeating. That makes them more tolerable, but they still can catch you. And the thing about the combat in Wolverine's Revenge is once the enemy tags you, you're automatically entered into combat mode. So you have to leave. You have to press L1 to leave combat mode and start again. And I found, oh heck, my computer wants to restart. Heck no, not now. Please do not restart. About an hour in, and so the combat's a bit weird, but it is the adapt time is not that bad at all. Especially when you can just do stuff like the dive attacks and the sliding. Sliding will trip enemies and also will disarm them. So if you let's just say you got like 10 dudes shooting at you, you can slide into like 2 of them, and they'll immediately go into fisticuffs and they'll want to chase you around. That's a really good strategy, in my opinion. Just kind of disarm them by sliding into them and running around and just kind of getting everybody aggro on you. That way you can get those strike opportunities available. Because when you can do 3 enemies at the same time, you press circle and you go through a little cinematic where Wolverine's just kind of stabbing them and punching them and kicking them and throwing them, and sometimes it kills them, sometimes it doesn't. Especially later on. That's why it's very important to get those dog tags, get the stealth kills in, because you'll get those dog tags, and those dog tags help with getting more strike opportunities, more powerful moves, so you can kill enemies without having to do it multiple times. That's See, I didn't realize that on my recent, what I call my 20-year anniversary of Wolverine's Revenge playthrough. I didn't realize you could actually get those more of those strike opportunities before Act Two. It just depends on how you kill it. You got to kill the enemies in a stealth. Get the dog tags by killing enemies stealth wise, and you can get it much earlier. And so I found that fascinating. I might even go through another playthrough and just see how much is actually possible before I go into Act 2 and see how many enemies are actually stealth viable. I know it's not all of it's stealth viable. Sometimes you're just thrown in and enemies are aware that you're there, but it's whatever. And
Yeah, I remember I was almost to get like a third dog set of dog tags, but I pressed square instead of circle, and I don't know why.
do what now?
So there was one point when I was about to stealth someone in the first video,
Oh,
um, and I walked out, I got snuck up to him, and I pressed square instead of circle, and yeah,
yeah. Those dudes that were hugging the wall. I'm surprised he didn't do the wall hug stealth strike. Because I was watching, I was like, why isn't he hugging up against the wall? I guess he forgot about it.
I didn't know you could even do that.
Oh, okay.
So
So,
there you go.
see, your first video I listened to, so I didn't get a chance to watch how you played. I could have swore that in the beginning the game introduces the wall hugging stealth strike, but
It did, but it didn't really give you an opportunity to sort of use it. It sort of like tells you about it, and it throws you into this open area with a single wall. People are already shooting at me.
okay. Gotcha. You got to be careful with that wall hugging because in order to wall hug, you got to hold down L1 because when you hold down L1, you go into the slow walk where you're holding your left arm up and walking around the stealth walk, I guess, and that allows you the opportunity to hug up against the wall and just kind of shimmy around it. But there's a this. I want you to be aware this game does have bugs in it, and I'm pretty sure you will run into them at some point. And the wall hugging will just you can just wall hug just nothing. You could be stealth walking around, then all of a sudden you'll be just like up against an invisible wall. That's happened to me multiple times, especially before one particular boss, and sometimes you might fall through a floor. That happened to me on my second playthrough. I mean, on my 20-year anniversary playthrough. And so it's gonna be there's gonna be some weird bugs you're gonna see. I can't wait for to see them if you do run into them because they're really funny.
Yeah, I remember you saying something about that, so I am sort of looking forward to that. I have had actually that sort of happened to me in a couple of games already, which I'm gonna have to try and restart and see if it'll do it again, or if they do it again, I'm gonna have to finish the game before I can even finish it.
Mm.
Like Brave. There's a point in the game now where it no longer loads. I walk through a wall, like the end of a path, and it says nothingness is there. Nothing's loaded. I don't know if it's a disc issue or if it's a game issue. And Hype, the time quest, I'm like soft locked in that game at the moment. So
Oh,
they like two games I need to go back to because of the bugs in them.
yeah. There's this one bug that I would love to see if I could replicate it. I even thought about buying it the other day because I did see it on the shelf. MX Unleashed. Me and my cousin we were playing together on the game, and he loved back then. He loved doing like super backflips into the out of bounds because I don't know if you know this or not, but in MX Unleashed, when you go out of bounds, the game throws you back into the middle of the level. It's really really funny. It makes this whole booming sound.
Wow, like there was a game on PC a long time ago that used to do that as well.
Oh,
I,
okay.
I remember playing something like that, but it's really interesting that actually feature actually happens in another game. I actually look forward to that because it'd be like a whole nostalgia thing that will be.
Yeah, you could add MX Unleashed to your list because that's a PS2 game as well. Uh, so he was doing backflips into the out of bounds, throwing his character back into the middle of the arena or the level design. And so he does it this one time, and suddenly his camera goes bonkers. His camera's pointing straight up into the sky, and you can slowly see his character disappear into the skybox. And so I'm like, "What the heck?" And he's like, "Man, I can just see the sky on my side." And so I drive to where he's at because his there's a player indicator on the map, and so I get to where the indicator is, and it's just his motorcycle laying there. It was so weird. His character was nowhere to be found. It's like I wonder how long it would have taken for us to sit there for the game to eventually restart his character positioning. But that was just one of the strangest bugs I've ever seen, where it's just got totally the game just gets rid of the player entirely, and just leaves the bicycle there. I'm just wondering. I'm like, I wonder how likely it is to just do that again on purpose. I mean, if it happened once, I mean, what are the odds of it happening again? I've never seen anybody else experience it. I don't. I have never seen any videos on YouTube of it happening. Of course, it is an old game, so the likelihood of it being recorded and documented is extremely low. And I would just love to see it again, just to see maybe someone with a free roam camera on PC that could also follow to see where the character goes in the skybox. And it's just so many questions I have, and it's just one of the most memorable moments I've ever had with a bug. Um,
Yeah.
I oh sorry.
No, it's all good. Sorry.
Oh, I was gonna go into another bug story if you wanted to say something.
No, no, no. I was just like, it's quite interesting when that sort of stuff happens because, again, there's no way, the odds of it happening could easily be like 1,000,001, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just the one bug they couldn't fix. Like something similar like that happened in like my AFL playthrough, like right at the start, they bumped the ball, and the ball literally shot off at 1,000,000 miles an hour to the side, and like who else has seen something like that where the ball just literally just like flies off to the side after someone smacked it with their hand?
Mm-hmm. uh, a bug that a really big bug that I've seen that I experienced most recently was in the Mafia upgrade, the definitive edition. Actually, one of my favorite upgrades I've ever seen. Because I never played the original, so I don't know how much was really cut out, but it's one of my favorite open world games. I mean, it's technically not open world. It's actually more formatted to LA Noir, but there is an open world you can drive around and do, side objectives and stuff like that. However, when the campaign's linear, I don't know if you played it before, but it's just whenever you're concentrating on the campaign, it sticks on a linear path. It's pretty much just chapter to chapter. Classic format, classic gaming format. But I was driving around doing one of these time limit missions, where you have to dump vehicles into the river. And so as I'm dumping a vehicle into the river, I kind of jump out at a very awkward time, and my character actually falls through the death the the death box in the river, because if you fall into the river you die. However, I managed to squeeze through that death box. It was some kind of iframe of jumping out of the car, and I was walking at the bottom of the river, and my car just so happened to land on four wheels. I mean, on its wheels, and so I'm like, oh heck, all right. So I'm just walking at the bottom of this, and you can look up and see the buildings and the top layer of the water. And so I walk to get back into my vehicle. I mean, of course there's no swimming mechanics. It's just like you're walking around on the city streets. So I get back into my vehicle and I just drive. I mean, also I got a time limit, so I only have a certain amount of time to be there. So I'm like, okay, well, I might as well just drive to the edges of the map. And so I'm driving as far as I can go. Eventually the map disappears. There's nothing else you can see. There's no paths. It's just blank. And eventually there is a drop off, and I just fall off with my vehicle, and eventually the timer runs out and it puts me back at the starting position.
That's yeah. It's interesting how stuff like that can still happen in modern games as well, but it's almost impossible to go through and try and make everything bug free because
Mm-hmm.
actually something like that exactly happened to me in Reckless the Yakuza missions when I must have hit something wrong. My car fell into under the water, and I could drive around like normally under the water. And it's just like another like how often does this sort of thing happen?
Okay, so something similar happened to you.
Yeah, it's like the way you were describing it was like almost exactly the same that happened to me during Reckless the Yakuza missions.
Nice. Um, Trying to think about other little bugs, but nothing has really been as significant as that. Like, I'm trying to think maybe of some bugs that happened to me in Dark Souls and Elden Ring, but nothing really too crazy. There's this really fun. It's not really a bug or a glitch. It's just kind of a oversight of the boss design, and that's Radon. There is a very small moment in the Radon fight where you can just simply just walk right behind him and he'll circle around with you. You're pretty much just playing ring around the rosy with Radon. As far as I know, you can do it as long as you want to, as long as you don't get off the path of circling behind him just right, and it's really funny. I'm pretty sure I uploaded the video on YouTube. It's probably a short somewhere. Same thing with the Mafia bug, but it's really funny. If you want a link to any of these, just let me know, and so you can see it. I don't know if you fought Radon yet, but it's a hilarious. I don't think anyone's found it yet either. I think it's just kind of something I found, but it's just another one of those things where I'm like, I don't know if anyone's ever uploaded this because I can't find it anywhere.
Yeah, I definitely haven't gotten to Radahn. I think the last one was like the Moon Lady. Was the last one last boss I ever completed in Elden Ring or defeated.
Which one? I'm sorry.
I can't remember her name, but like the trophy is like something of the moon.
Renala.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you're. That's actually one of my least. I hate that boss so much because you can at that part of the game you can either defeat Renala or Radon, and I'd rather fight Radon and get him out of the way because I hate the Red Wolf of Radagon. Well, that boss ticks me off to no end. I mean, it's just. I mean, it's good if you're a magic user and you can just shoot projectiles at the wolf. I don't like using magic, so yeah, getting up close and personal with the wolf is just agonizing.
I think I remember that, and I think I failed multiple times against that because again I'm not a magic user either, so I go in sword swinging, but like yeah, I think I struggled big time on that boss fight.
I just wish the arena was bigger. The arena is way too small for his moveset. The way he just jumps
Tiny
around.
for a big. He's such a big boss as well.
I mean, he bugs out all the time too. Whenever I'm fighting him, he'll get stuck on the chandeliers, the rafters. I mean, I'm like, man, why can't they just put something else here? Because this guy's obviously not right for this arena, and that's actually a lot. That's actually true for a lot of boss fights in Elden Ring, where the arena is just not right. And I don't know why. I guess it's just there's a lot of oversights in Elden Ring. As much as I love Elden Ring, there are a lot of oversights, a lot of underdeveloped stuff. But I love it regardless.
I always wonder if it's maybe a lore reason.
People always love coming up with lore reasons. Oh, it's like that because of lore. Red Wolf of Radagon's in a small area because he loves that room. That's where he got petted the most, and so that's why he's in there. It's amazing seeing what kind of things people come up with to excuse a fault in the game. It's like, God forbid, just say something bad about Elden Ring when it first came out. People were like, how dare you? This game's perfect. There's nothing wrong with it. It's like I have yet to play the perfect game. There's not even a game that's like a 9.5 out of 10 for me.
No, jeez.
But all right. Let's see. We are a little over an hour. I guess we need to go ahead and start getting on these. Let's see. I got 7 questions I asked you before the podcast. Are you ready?
Sure. Go ahead.
All right. So, what mechanics from PS2 games should be refined and reintroduced in a modern day release?
So the sort of thing I sort of wrote down was like bringing back like proper couch co-op games. Like the PS2 was really big for that because they had like stuff like the multi-tap, and you could have like 4 people playing the same game. But like the games that really like stood out to me like couch co-op wise was stuff like Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance. Like you could play through the whole game as a co-op game. And stuff like Gauntlet Dark Legacy. I really enjoyed playing that, but I could see how good it would be playing with 4 people on PS2 for it as well. But like nowadays it's all like split screen and stuff like that sort of doesn't exist as often anymore because everyone's like play this online, and it's sort of like I don't know. I did enjoy the whole like sitting with your friends and just playing the game there.
Can you think of any recent couch co-op games?
Not. I mean, I think the only one I can think of is like Borderlands 3, but again, that's only 2 players. And I'm not sure if you can do split screen for that.
Well, you got games like Moving Out. Moving Out 2 just came out. That's couch co-op. You can play up to 4 players. You got the Overcooked series. That's couch co-op as well. And had another one in my mind. Little Sackboy, Little Big Adventures. That was also couch co-op.
Little Big Planet, yeah.
All the Little Big Planet games.
Yeah, it's just like it's not as much nowadays. That's the only thing. Like,
Right.
the only people that are doing it are sort of indie developers, like the Overcooked developers, and there's no big like AAA games that are doing it anymore.
I wonder how couch co-op would have worked for something like Elden Ring. I wonder if there was like I wonder if there could have been an organic way to implement that.
Yeah, it might be difficult with those sort of games, but like, because I know you can do co-op online,
Mm-hmm.
so I guess there's no real reason of like not doing it together. Maybe like limiting the cameras to a certain size. You can't be outside of the camera bounds or whatever. So like, maybe that'd be the only way of doing it instead of doing split screen.
Yeah, I mean maybe there could be like a special summon sign you could place down, and then you had to press X to join in, with the second controller. But then you got the problem with the split screen where reading the boss fight is very important, and so having to have the screen reduced might be too problematic for that. I'm just wondering if they even thought about it, because you got to think. I mean, Demon Souls. I mean, of course they've always had online play since Demon Souls, but I wonder if they ever considered the option for couch co-op at all. I wonder if that even came across their mind.
Yeah. I think the main issue is, as you said, would be the camera. Like you would have to
Yeah.
have a fixed camera, and not following the player, which makes it almost harder for the player to play.
There also could have been exploits. Maybe there was just too many exploits that could have happened. Maybe just the boss could have been bugging out too much during couch co-op, possibly. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
but yeah, there definitely needs to be more couch co-op games. I mean, heck, I wonder if Hogwarts Legacy could have worked as a couch co-op game. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. I don't know. I don't really know it's really hard to really determine exactly why couch co-op is left out. I mean, unless there's a very big problematic reason. But I mean, there was just so many in the PS2 days, so there can't be that many problematic reasons. But I don't know too many video game developers, so I could probably ask the developer of Frogun and see what he says about it. But because he's actually the one video game developer I have contact with as well, especially during the time I was playing Frogun. I was asking questions and notifying him about bugs. Um, the new Frogun might be couch co-op, because I know there's a second character that seems to be I think the second one is couch co-op, because I think I saw gameplay footage of it. So maybe he did finally implement it.
no, well, there you go.
Have you played Frogun? I gotta mention it. I
I've
gotta mention
never,
every podcast.
I've never heard of it, unfortunately.
Oh, gotta play it. It's a PS1 style game. It's some of the best platforming I've ever seen. Each level has its own character. It has its own uniqueness, and it introduces new challenges. Every level, pretty much every level, you're just wondering, oh heck, how in the world am I going to do that? Because it's zipline based. You got this frog gun. I say frog gun because it just sounds cooler, but it's actually, you have a gun that looks like a frog, and it's used for ziplining and combat and stuff like that. And there are some scenarios where you use the frog gun to zipline to a building, and then you got to quickly reposition to zipline to another aspect that's going to cause you to zipline to another area. You would have to really just see it to really get what I'm talking about, but it's just, the platforming is absolutely beautiful, and he even created his own level creator, and I think that has something to do with why the levels just feel so organic and unique, because just it's created by blocks with blocks. I don't know. It's so incredible how he was able to create his own level creator and then still implement new stuff with every single biome in the game. It's just utterly fascinating what he was able to do alone. I mean, I'm just wondering. I'm like, he had to have some kind of other help, because doing all that by himself just seems incredible. But yeah, definitely recommend Frogun. There's a physical release for that, and plus the Frogun Encore is coming out sometime this year. I was hoping it would come out much earlier, but I guess he's waiting for Christmas.
I'm not having a look at some screenshots now for it, but it always amazes me when you get like solo developer games. Like I've never played it, but I've heard Undertale is a really good game, and it's only really made by one person as well. And it's just it's just sort of amazing what like, if you spend the time, what you can achieve. I think, yeah, like just what you can achieve without the limitations of a big publisher over the head of you.
Hmm. Oh yeah, it's just pretty much the first half of the year I like to focus on AAA games if there's a AAA game I actually want to play. But then the second half of the year I like to focus on indie games. Like right now I'm kind of in my indie game period, even though I really want to play Baldur's Gate 3, but I'm still technically waiting for indie games to come out. So I'm kind of just on the PS2 games, also just doing stuff on Dark Souls. I'm still waiting on You Suck at Parking, which is a game that came out last year, but they said that they were going to release the PlayStation version this year. But I'm still just sitting here waiting for that. And let's see, what was the other one? Heck, I can't remember now. It was a dang it, I can't remember. It was another indie game that I was looking forward to, and that's not out yet. I don't think it even has a release date. Like I said, I think a lot of them are probably just waiting for Christmas.
It's smart sometimes.
Yeah. So question two, we need to breeze through these questions. We're like an hour and 20 minutes in. Let's see. What are your favorite PS2 cheat codes?
So probably my favorite would go I never really used cheat codes as often when I was younger, and if I did, it was like from like money cheats or whatever. But I think the one that really stands out was the flying cheat in Grand Theft Auto 3, and you just get the tank, turn the barrel around, and just shoot, and just fly around with this tank, just destroying everything behind you. And I also enjoyed turning all the civilians like aggressive to each other and give them weapons. So the moment you respawn, all you hear is rocket launchers flying everywhere, people screaming. It's just a fun time.
Yeah, I loved riot mode in San Andreas. It was so much fun trying to survive. Everybody freaking out. I'm surprised we didn't see it in something like Grand Theft Auto 4, Grand Theft Auto 5. I'm like, why in the world did you guys take all this out? I mean, that was one of the most entertaining parts about Grand Theft Auto San Andreas was just that riot mode.
I honestly think it would be like a limitation for the console itself, because
Yeah,
so much stuff is happening
that's true.
all around you with such high graphics. There'd be so much more stuff to process.
Oh, maybe we can bring it back in Grand Theft Auto 6.
That would be actually interesting. I even with the cheat codes as well. I don't remember. I remember a website called Cheat CC or something like that.
Yeah.
I always remember like printing out the sheets and like for games and putting them into like a folder as well.
That's actually Cheat CC, I believe, is how I found out about the secret boss in Castlevania Lament of Innocence. Because I thought I was done with the game, and then my dad came up. He came to the house, and he's like, "Hey, you're not done. There's a secret boss." I'm like, "Huh? Where?" And he's like, "You remember that creature underneath the grate?" I was like, "Oh yeah, that's right. I didn't know that was actually a boss under there." By the way, I would love to see a Boundary Break episode where they go underneath those grates and see how much of that boss is rendered, because that's just still a secret that I would just love to see. Like I said, I just want to see how much of that boss is actually underneath there, because it's just you only see maybe his horns and a bit of his head, and that's it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure one day it'll come up, but
Yeah.
yeah, I do enjoy that Boundary Break channel.
All right, and number three, what post PS2 video games feel like upgraded PS2 games?
Um, I think what I wrote down was like indie games nowadays, where like it's not to say that like indie games are bad. It's just more like for the limitations of the PS2, it's sort of like nowadays like everyone's sort of like, well, you stuff like Unity and stuff like that. There's not many limitations, but like they just feel like upgraded PS2 games, which is not a bad thing because PS2 games were fun.
Oh yes.
And it's just like an easily accessible game with not have to worry about the online, not to worry about if it's like this, that, and the other. It's just a game you can just play. Like I recently played Toem, which is a fantastic game. And it's like it just feels like a PS2 game, but like I just enjoyed the whole thing because it was like it's a video game without any like any sort of like money extra put into it.
Hmm. One game that comes to my mind is I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, but Kenya. It's a game that came out for PS4, and it's like a PS2 game's been upgraded. I love the classic formatting of that. Have you heard of that game?
I don't think so.
It's a Kena. There's a subtitle, but I can't read it right now. I got it kind of in the back of my collection. You play as a
Bridge,
girl that has this
Bridge of
little.
Spirits.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Bridge of Spirits. That's it.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, that I
Uh,
need to finish that because my wife got it for me on either my birthday or Christmas, and I still haven't finished it yet. But it's a really fun game.
it sort of looks like Kaya Dark Legacy on PS2.
Oh, okay.
Like sort of, but again, like it could be a similar sort of, could be a one of the things they must have seen and like expanded on. I don't know. It I could be completely wrong, but
That's pretty much one of the best examples I could think of in terms of a game looking like a upgraded PS2 game. I can think about PS1 games like Snake Pass. If you haven't heard of that, that looks like a upgraded PS1 game, but I don't even know how much they could achieve with the physics in terms of playing as the snake. And then you got Overcooked and Moving Out, but then again, you got the physics you got to think about. I mean, I don't know how well the game would have worked out, but it just the game. It's just in terms of scale, these games feel like they could have been on the PS1.
yeah, it sort of reminds me of that new everyone's going like the new horror genre is like PS1 style horror nowadays. I mean, they got some horror games coming out like the old like Unity asset games, but they use the filter for like PS1 style.
Hmm.
So it's like the graphic style sort of comes is coming back as well, which is quite interesting.
Yes, I want to see more games that are in that PS1 style, like Frogun. I know there's been horror games coming out that have those that have the PS1 type graphics. Um, and I'm so glad the developers are not afraid to make those polygon aesthetics because it's very. I don't want to just say nostalgic, but I also want to say it's also psychologically interesting because your mind's trying to. I think one of the most interesting things about older graphics is that you got this concept presented to you, and it's not fully fleshed out, but your brain kind of puts it together, and it kind of makes it more unique if you know what I mean.
Yeah, 100%.
And your brain's just trying to fill in the rest of it. So it's like if you think back to a game like that you played that didn't have really necessarily the best graphics, but you're in your mind, it looks a lot better than what's actually in existence. Existence.
Yeah, I think I think like the like nostalgia filter.
Right, and that's one thing that we lost over time is just people are like, we got to have the better graphics, bigger is better, but I'm like, I want to play Frogun. You can have all these God of War Ragnarok's, Red Dead Redemption 2, Horizon Zero Dawn. I want to play Frogun.
I mean, I understand like graphics better looks good, yeah, but like if the gameplay is crap, what's the point of it really?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, I mean, like God of War Ragnarok and Horizon Zero Dawn, like fantastic games. So like they're not really they're good games as well. But like when you get the stuff like it looks amazing, but the game itself is just terrible. I think it was that there's a Square Enix game that came out recently. It looked amazing, but the game itself was terrible.
Oh, Forspoken.
That's the one. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, yeah. That I took one look at that game. I was like, yeah, that's not gonna. I mean, at least for me, that's not the game I even I have no business playing that game. And it turns out it looks like a lot of other people felt the same way. I didn't even play the demo, but sometimes when you just look at footage for a game, you're just like, yeah, that doesn't look like anything I would be interested in. Like with Armored, I mean, I want to get Armored Core because it's by From Software, but when I look at the gameplay footage, I'm like, I don't know about that. I don't know if I'm gonna enjoy navigating as a robot and shooting at things. I just don't know.
And that's an unfortunate thing. I'm not a big fan of those games, but there's like six Armored Core games on PS2, and then you got Zone of the Enders, and you got some other ones as well. I'm like, I'm not looking forward to those games.
I mean, I'm gonna wait for a sale. I mean, maybe $30-$40 when it drops down that low. Then I'll be like, okay, I feel like that's a safe price to try it at. Because at least if I don't like it, then I can at least put it, on the shelf somewhere and look at it. And maybe later on, I can pick it back up and enjoy it more. Perhaps I don't know. Some games just age like that for whatever reason. Um,
Mm.
and what going back to people just loving graphics too much. And Red Dead Redemption 2 is one of those games where people are just praising it so much, but whenever you ask them about the gameplay, they have nothing to say.
100%. Like it's just too realistic for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't enjoy the gameplay at all.
Yeah, I don't know why they had to change so much from the first game. The first game I thought played, really, really well, but then they get to the second one, they're like, oh yeah, let's make it as slow and sluggish as possible.
But make it look absolutely beautiful.
At least it's beautiful. Isn't that what matters? All right, so let's see. Oh yeah, what are your favorite PS2 cover arts?
So, one of my favorites is probably the Warriors, because it's
Uh-huh.
different to the actual movie. But like, you look at the cover of the game, and you just see like a sea of people, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like the art is just it's such a cool art style. I don't know. It's just I enjoy it so much, and like, and I also enjoy like, the simplicity of the PAL Silent Hill 2 cover.
Okay.
I don't know if you noticed it at all. It's literally all black except for a small slit, and it has Maria's face in it, and that's it. Like her eyes basically, and that's it. It's just like a simple cover. It's sort of like what's going on there? And then the game already brings you in without even turning it on.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at it right now. I've never seen it before, but that is unsettling to look at. Huh.
Yeah, it's such a cool thing, and stuff like War of the Monsters. It could just be a kind of nostalgic thing for myself, but it's like the old 1950s monster movies. Is basically what the cover looks like, and it looks really cool.
Yeah, I didn't even know what War of the Monsters was until Twisted Metal Black when I was looking through the cheat book, and I noticed that if you carry on a save file with Sweet Tooth's story on it, you can play as the Sweet Tooth mech on War of the Monsters.
I did not know that.
Yeah, that's how I got into War of the Monsters. I had no idea this game existed, and I'm surprised I found it because it's just I don't know. It's like a game just materialized into existence because I don't know for whatever reason. I just never seen it on the shelves before. Never heard of it. When I first for some reason when I first heard of War of the Monsters, I thought about a Japanese game where you play as a guy in a business suit. I don't know why that popped into my head. Like, what in the world does War of the Monsters have to do with a man in a business suit walking around in an office building?
Oh, my first introduction to War of the Monsters was on the demo discs.
Oh,
One of the demo discs you get for PS2. That's what really got me into War of the Monsters originally. And then when I finally got the game, I could play the whole thing. I mean, like I played through War of the Monsters already. It was just just because I really enjoyed it, I wanted to play it at one point. But I played through it and loved it.
I had to give my favorite cover art PS2 game to Castlevania Lament of Innocence. I love it so much. I actually used to have a poster of it. I need to get another one.
There is a fun fact. It's not a PS2 game. It's a Wii game for Akami when it got released on Wii. The cover art of that game has the IGN logo on it.
Really?
So they used the cover. They used the IGN, like an IGN picture. I don't know why they did it, but only on the Wii version, the Wii like re-release of the game, there is a lovely IGN logo on the cover of that game.
Which one?
Akami.
Okami. Let's see.
So where you play as the dog like in a painted world.
Right.
And
Is that the PAL version?
I think so. And I think if you search Akami Wii cover IGN, someone would have like zoomed in on the logo, and you would notice this IGN just
Is it a
watermark on there.
Watermark. Okay. Let's see. Someone is. Aha! Wow. What about that? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's definitely
I think
interesting.
it's like lazy on Capcom's side. That is.
Well, that doesn't make any sense.
I don't understand.
They have never explained it.
No, not that I know of.
Maybe they're just embarrassed.
Yes, just if we ignore it, it'll go away.
It's like me creating a. It's like me publishing, publishing my book, but a journalist made a post about it, put their watermark on it, and I decided to grab that and use it as my cover art for my book for whatever reason, even though I got tons of art on my computer that I'm using for the publication. That is, I don't know, that doesn't make any sense.
I do not understand why.
All right, so that was definitely an interesting one. So let's the next question: what PS2 game offered something you didn't expect in the slightest?
That one game would be the Red Star. I looked at the back of that game and it looked nothing like what the game was, and I really enjoyed it though.
Red
So
Star.
I wasn't expecting a bullet hell action game.
I need to look this one up. I think I was going to look it up days ago because I know you've mentioned it before. Red Stars.
Yeah, the Red Star.
Okay. I think I did look it up. Okay, because I remember the cover art for it. All right, so that's kind of like a Ultimate Alliance style game, right?
Not at all.
No. Okay.
Nope. It's like a it's an action game where you basically going through a level, but all the enemies, actually a lot of enemies, some enemies are just melee attacking, but a lot of enemies are bullet hell enemies, and then the bosses are literal bullet hell bosses, and you have to basically attack at the same time. It's really cool. Like it's such an interesting mash of genres.
Okay. And so it was just simply when you. So what did you expect initially before you played it?
Just a generic adventure game. Just generic action adventure game set in dystopian Russia, whatever it was. But what I got was like something completely different, and that really was like, oh wow, okay. I wonder how many more PS2 games are going to be like this.
So I mean, have you finished that one entirely?
Yes, I finished that one on the channel a while ago.
Okay, gotcha.
I think it's game number 230.
I'll have to look at some of the footage for that. All right. What is your favorite boss fight in a PS2 game?
That will go back to our previous comment of Shadow of the Colossus, because honestly, that is the one game that one boss fight is what really like stays in my mind. Is the 13th Colossus. Just that one boss fight, PS2 wise, just absolutely awe-inspiring. Just amazing game, amazing boss fight.
Wow.
And like, there are good boss fights, but something about that one just really it's just, yeah, that has a special place in my heart.
Gotcha. Mine has to go to the Dullahan for the Curse of Darkness of Castlevania Curse of Darkness. The Dullahan, one of the boss fights that would fit perfectly in Dark Souls. I definitely can't wait to fight him again after not fighting him for over a decade. Because I'm on a journey on Curse of Darkness right now where I'm fighting boss fights without dodging or taking damage, and I definitely cannot wait to see how viable he is for that.
Love the self-imposed challenges.
Oh, I love them so much. They just bring so much freshness to the games. I try to explain how amazing they are to other people, but they're like, man, as long as I get through a game, that's all I care about. I'm like, yeah, but I mean, you're just experiencing so much more. How can I get it across to you? It's just these self-imposed challenges just introduces such artwork, but it's just sometimes you just can't get it through to people. But it's just something I mean, I understand if it's just not what people are into, but it's just so fascinating. But I better stop right there before I get into a whole hour of me explaining how self-imposed challenges are amazing. If I talk long enough, Matthew Manny will join in and say, hey, I gotta explain things from my side. Alright, so the last question. What PS2 games are you looking forward to the least?
So it's more one I've already played before, but I have to go back to it, and that would be the dear old Ring of Red game. And I'm not looking forward to it because, like, I had a horrible experience when I played it originally after playing for 2 hours on a single mission and then failing right at the end. and then you have to start the whole mission again, and it's just like, wow, this is not fun.
Mm.
And like, yeah, that's something I'm not looking forward to going back to playing. But there's not really any games I'm like, oh, I don't want to play that. Or maybe the Armored Core games because I'm not a big mech player. But yeah,
So you do have the Armored Core games on your list.
yeah, I've got I own most of them. I think there's only one or two I don't have yet.
How many are on the
But
PS2? Just a couple, or?
you have Armored Core 2, 3, Silent Line, Nexus Breaker, I think. There's another one as well. I think another 2 or 3, but there's quite a few actually.
Wow, it's incredible how many they made.
Yeah, I also remember you were talking about From Software. I actually played through a From Software game on PS2 recently called Eternal Ring.
Hmm.
I don't know if you've heard of it or not.
No.
No, it's a first person like Dark Souls sort of game. But it's not a great game, I should say. But it's interesting to see where a company starts and where they finish. Like Elden Ring is like their magnum opus.
Well, PS2 aside, what is your favorite game of all time?
Or if I go, oh, jeez, I never really thought about that because, like, again, like I spend so much time on PS2 that like my favorite game is the PS2 game. But I mean, like, if I can't even really say that either. Maybe Final Fantasy 9 on PS1.
Ah, okay.
Because I have just memories with me and my friends sitting in bed, like laying in bed, playing this game as kids, just like like middle of the night, just playing Chocobo Hot and Cold. It's just such fun memories. Like, and because it's a fantastic game as well in itself.
And that Final Fantasy games, they're pretty long. That one's exceptionally long as well.
Yes, yeah. I mean, like, like I think it's 4 discs on PS2
Ooh,
on PS1, which is it's
four
crazy.
discs. I don't.
Yeah,
Final Fantasy 9.
yeah.
I don't even know what that one's about. Final Fantasy 9.
It's like the actual one that's actually more of a fantasy world.
So that one even beats number 7 for you.
Yeah, I'd see. I'm not a big fan of 7.
Oh.
Everyone's like, "Oh, Final Fantasy 7 is the best one. Oh my god, it's the crazy, like it's the greatest one." But it was the first 3D one, yes, but I don't see the hype over it.
Hmm. I mean, I'm not the biggest turn-based fan, so I can never get into the original Final Fantasy VII. I did like the remake. I did appreciate that and played through it, but there's just so much cinematic drag that it's really hard for me to play it a second time because I can't stand having to sit through the mandatory cinematics and dialogue. So it's just one of those games where I'm like, I played through it once, it was good enough, and then I just kind of just never see it again.
See, I'm the opposite, where I really enjoyed the Final Fantasy VII remake
Oh yeah,
because it was different to the original one, which is really good.
yeah. I mean, I enjoyed it as well. It's really hard for me to kind of get into it again, regardless of how amazing the combat is. It's just I can't stand just sitting through all the cinematic stuff. Where you gotta walk slowly.
No, yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
Yes, and plus the game's really long as well. And then you got these, you got those moments like when you're in a dress and you got to go through all these little, just talking the NPC dialogue hopping. One of the biggest problems I have with Final Fantasy 16, and one reason why I haven't finished it is because even with skipping, it takes like an hour just to get past all the NPC dialogue hopping just to get back into the combat, and I just got tired of it.
Don't worry, like trying to get all the dresses for the trophy on Final Fantasy VII Remake is a pain in the ass anyway.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm not into trophy hunting anymore because that one would have been really repetitive to get.
Yeah, I'm unfortunately a trophy hunter too, so I haven't played much PS4, PS5 recently, but I definitely go hard into it if I really do want to get into them.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm trying to remember the last game I even platinumed. I don't even. It might have been Sly Cooper 3.
Ah, what a game!
Yeah, I want to play. I need to play Thieves in Time. I know that's the worst one, but I want to play it just for the sake of the series.
I actually bought it recently on PS3, and I actually played it. It was this year, sometime this year. I was playing. I never finished it though, but like I don't know what people hate about it because it literally just feels like another Sly Cooper game, and I just enjoy Sly Cooper.
So there
I
was
mean,
no,
it's called Sly Raccoon here for some weird reason, but
there was nothing noticeably really bad about it.
nope. Like I was like, it felt like the open world part of like 2 and 3, where like you like mission based sort of thing.
Okay.
So it just felt the same, just like it's just a different story, really, which is not a bad thing.
So do you think it's just another game that's a victim of exaggerated hate?
I think so, and maybe because it wasn't made by the original developers.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't know that. That's yeah. That would that explains a lot. Then you got a lot of you got a lot of old fans that are like, oh, it wasn't made by the original developer. It sounds like Dark Souls 2, where people are like hating on it because Miyazaki wasn't fully responsible for it, and plus a lot of other ambitions in the game. It's just it's incredible what people just jump on top of a game for, even though it could be a fantastic game. There, but for whatever petty reason, people just hate on it for no reason. Then that hate will spread on to other people, and they won't even look into it and figure out
Yeah,
what's wrong with it exactly.
and honestly, if Insomniac come out with like a Sly Raccoon game, like I'm sure it'll explode because of how big an impact those games had back in the day. And like his Sly 5, and like, oh my god, everyone just jump on it.
Yeah, I would love to see a new Sly Cooper game. I just hope they don't go with the open world thing. I don't want to see a new Sly Cooper game come out and say, "Oh, it's open world. You have freedom." I'm like, no, 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 no. Stick with what works. I don't want to have to worry about side missions in a Sly Cooper. I mean, well, there were side missions in Sly Cooper, like especially with the 2 and 3, but they were all unique. They were all fresh and didn't feel like I was doing the same thing all the time. It was just purpose, yeah, side missions with purpose. They gave you a reason to go out and do them instead of just them being shoved off all the way in the corner somewhere. Please do not make an open world Sly Cooper game. I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear about it.
Yeah, 100%. Like it was sort of open world, like quotation open world,
Mm-hmm.
but like it was localized to that area. So it wasn't
Right.
like a full expansive world. It's just like you could run around this whole little area, which is, I mean, it's fine, it's perfect.
Right. People don't appreciate contained level design anymore. It feels as they just want roguelite games and they want open world games. Whenever a game's
Yeah,
coming out, they're like, "Is it open world?" I'm like, well, does it matter? I mean, find out if it's a good game first. I mean, why are you concerned about it being an open world? I mean, if it's a game that handles open world correctly, then fine. But I haven't really seen. I mean, the best open world game I've ever played was pretty much Shadow of the Colossus, Elden Ring, Death Stranding, Metal Gear Solid 5, Phantom Pain, and pretty much anything. Like, I mean, I hated Red Dead Redemption 2. I wasn't a big fan of Horizon Zero Dawn, and I mean, those games just didn't work for me personally because there was just so much in it. Just felt like bloating, and I don't know. I don't know what it was about Horizon Zero Dawn that didn't work for me. I don't know if it was just the combat or just maybe just the AI was really dumb. But I
that's weird because like I absolutely loved Horizon Zero Dawn. Like I loved it to the point where I platinumed the game, and then I finished the DLC. And once I finished the DLC, I'm like, I still want more.
hmm. I mean, so what worked for you? I mean, uh,
I think it was the story, the whole world, the universe. Like
okay,
I enjoyed being sucked into the world of it, and the story did that really well. Like one of my favorite recent games of all time, which actually is climbing up my ranks of one of my favorite games of all time, is Stray, because
really.
I love the world of Stray. It's such a good game. Like it's a simple game, but like the whole universe itself is just amazing.
Are you saying strain or
Oh,
stray?
Stray, sorry, Stray, where you play as the cat.
Wow. Okay. Then I definitely didn't expect that.
That is like I platinumed it on PS4 because I really enjoyed it so much, and I platinumed it on PS5 because I enjoyed it even more so. And now that I'm hearing that there's going to be a movie coming out for it as well, I can't wait for that as well.
I haven't heard about the movie. See, the one thing that really disappointed me about Stray was I was really hoping for precision platforming, but it ended up being prompt jumping. That's the one of my biggest disappointments about it.
Yeah, I think the game is definitely more story focused than anything.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed it. I mean, I did. But like I said, I was just kind of hoping there would be really some really cool cat platforming in it, but it's just not there. Like so, it did have some really cool chase sequences though, like at the very end where the robots are chasing you. I really did like that, and you had those little
Yeah,
creatures that would jump on top of you.
yeah, yeah. Those things are super annoying, and like it's quite emotional. I don't know, like it's quite sort of emotional at the end of it as well. Not sure if you finished it or not.
I did.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just like the little robot, of course, like it gives you that sort of hint of like he's still alive but not.
In terms of story, I can't really relate it. I mean, I think I paid attention more than I usually do to the story, but I don't really remember a ton about it. So I guess really it didn't hit me as hard.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, for me, yeah, it's 100% just the I don't know, it must just be the whole world around in it really sucked me in.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has a lot of potential. I mean, if Stray 2 comes out and it looks really, really cool, I mean, I'll probably play it. I mean, maybe the second one will work for me. I mean, I'm willing to give it a try. Um, I definitely, I mean, I actually finished Horizon Zero Dawn, but I definitely didn't want to try the second one because it just looked more of the same, so I just stayed away from it.
See, I wanted to get the second one. I have the second one and I've played a bit of it, but I didn't get any further than that because I think that's when Elden Ring came out, and then I sort of went to Elden Ring, and then I sort of never went back to Horizon Forbidden West.
I think one of the biggest. I think what happened in Horizon Zero Dawn was there was just a lot of NPC dialogue hopping, and that's one of my biggest turnoffs for a game is when I'm having to talk to NPCs constantly and skip through dialogue, and then I have to do slow walks and follow NPCs around. I guess I just hate that so much it just ruins the game for me.
Going back to the open world games, one of my favorite ones easily would be like the Fallout 3 or Fallout 4,
Hmm.
because like what you're saying, like NPC sort of stuff, you can skip half that anyway if you wanted to, or just kill the NPC if you wanted to in the first place.
Yeah.
The like open world games like that gives you a lot of freedom, and it's not like it's empty, but at the same time it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Where like I'm seeing a lot of stuff for Starfield, and literally it looks like empty planets, and it just seems like boring.
Yeah, I don't really see what people are finding so interesting about Starfield. I was asking a friend about it. I was like, "Okay, tell me about Starfield. How many hours you got in it? What has happened?" He was like, "Well, I got 8 hours in it, and then you fight some dudes, you fly around in some spaceships." I'm like, "Oh, well, that sounds like Star Wars Battlefront 2. I mean, is there anything very unique about Starfield, something that stands out?" And he's like, "No, it's just go over there and shoot some guys, and then you got some starships that'll fight you." I'm like, "Oh, well, I don't know. It just sounds like something I can do in another game."
Yeah, like I've heard that Elite Dangerous is more like a better version of Starfield, and No Man's Sky is better. No Man's Sky is a better way of exploration because there's like you can actually fly to each planet or whatever. You
Yes,
can
exactly.
and like explore like every planet in No Man's Sky is different, and there's no way anyone would ever be able to finish that game like 100%. It's literally impossible.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite moments in No Man's Sky is when you're flying to a new planet and you can actually fly and land all in one swoop. There's no loading screens or anything like that. It's just
Yeah,
one.
nothing at all. Yeah, it's fantastic.
And apparently, I haven't seen a whole lot of stuff for Starfield, but apparently, like you said, there's like a loading screen whenever you get to a planet.
There's a loading screen whenever you enter a ship.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like I saw someone playing it like they ran to this ship that just landed on the planet. They get into the ship, it loaded, and then they get to the cockpit, and it's already in space. So it's like it feels like a separate whole separate entity sort of thing, which is really weird. Where like No Man's Sky, everything was there. Like you find a ship, there it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's so funny seeing people kind of stick up for it. I mean, if they enjoy it, that's great. You know, continue on. But it's just seeing people say praises about it. I just don't know. I just don't really. It's almost like people are seeing a different game than I am. Because I'm looking at this footage. I'm like, really, this is the game you got. I mean, it's not. I'm not trying to be a PlayStation fanboy or anything like that. Because I got an Xbox as well. I got a computer, but Starfield just I don't know. It just looks very mediocre. I don't really see anything valuable in it.
Yeah, I actually I sort of wanted it to succeed because
Yeah,
I've noticed like Xbox users don't really have many good exclusives coming out. Like everything that's been coming out recently has been, as you said, like mediocre.
yeah. Mm, I mean, that's why I keep asking my friends about it because I'm like I want something to come out of this. Because I was getting excited about Starfield. I'm like, yeah, this could actually be something big, but I just can't really trust Bethesda a whole lot. I did like Fallout 4. I really loved that game. I thought the open world was great. It was fun to explore and progress through the story and everything like that. The characters. So I did have a little bit of hope for it, but also Bethesda made Skyrim, and I'm not the biggest Skyrim fan, so it's either going to be something I really really love or something I just really really dislike, and it just looks like it's just not really doing anything to pull me in.
Yeah, well, I'm not a bit like I enjoyed Skyrim, but I didn't really like it as much. But I can tell like there's it's such a like the actual world itself is definitely full. But where with Starfield now, it's like it's on such a massive scale that there's almost impossible to fill it up like they have with Skyrim and Fallout and all that sort of stuff.
Well, maybe it'll get better over time. Maybe they'll just fill it up with stuff as years go by. Maybe 10 years from now, it'll finally be good enough for me to play.
And that sort of goes back to your original question of like what mechanics should be refined and like you want games to be complete when you buy them,
Mm-hmm.
like when they first come out. Where like the whole, I mean, I understand like when No Man's Sky first came out, it was not whatever was promised, but
Yeah.
now the game is much better than what it was originally. But like, well, on PS2 times, they didn't have that luxury. They had like once the game's out, it's out. There's no way of us updating it. So
Right.
like they put all their effort into that game. So when it came out, it's a full complete game, done, finished. You don't have to worry about anything else. But nowadays the devs are like, here's the game. Just wait for the patches to make it better. And it's like
Right.
that's not a fun game.
Mm. Yeah. I'm wondering if they ever upgrade God of War. I wonder if they'll fix that glitch where before you get to Pandora's box, you got these conveyor belts that lead into spike rollers, and you got to fight a bunch of enemies at the same time. There's actually an exploit. If you stick to the left side, the enemies will not trigger, and you can get to Pandora's box. So I'm just wondering if like little stuff like that will ever be bugged. I mean, will be patched. But sometimes exploits can be so iconic that they will not mess with it at all.
Yeah. Well, I haven't really checked on because I have the God of War collection on PS3, so I don't know if they've gone back and fixed that or not.
Yeah, I don't know. That's actually a good question because I have that as well. The saga. I actually had a really stupid moment with that because I thought I ordered the God of War saga, but I ended up ordering Ascension again. Because
Okay.
I got it in the mail and it said God of War Ascension. I was like, oh heck, was I not paying attention?
So God of War and bye.
That's another game that gets way too much hate. God of War Ascension. I will agree that the story is not that great in it, but the gameplay is phenomenal. I think.
Yeah, I've heard that too. I haven't played it, so I can't really say anything about it. But I have heard it's like not. It's probably like on the lower end of the God of War games.
Hmm. I, it's one of my favorite ones. I think that a lot of the gameplay combat ambitions is just fun, absolutely addicting to get yourself immersed with, especially a lot of the boss fights. That God of War Ascension has some of the best boss fights in the series. It's a shame no one ever talks about them.
Yeah.
um, but we are approaching about 2 hours, and I guess I don't know if you thought we could make it this long.
No, it was a good like no, not really, but like it's been really fun to sort of like chat though, and like you just keep going and going, and you sort of forget about the time.
Oh yes, it flies by. I mean, I think my longest podcast has been 3 hours with Punkling, because both of us we're just constantly going on, and we lose track of time really quickly. um, but I definitely appreciate you having interest in wanting to be on the podcast. I definitely enjoyed you jumping on and having a discussion with me. Just having video game discussions is just something I absolutely love, and it's very nice just finding people that focus on particular subjects. Like I'm trying to find someone with for Twisted Metal, Castlevania. I have all kinds of different podcasts planned. I just got to find the right person, and since you are focusing on PS2, I figured you'd be the perfect person to talk to in terms of that. And you definitely had a lot of insight of experience, and especially from the past 9-10 years of being on YouTube playing PS2 games. And so I feel like we can have several podcasts. If you want to come back on again, we could talk. I'll have more questions for you, and you'll have more experience with Wolverine's Revenge. We could definitely dig into that, because by the time we probably have another podcast, maybe hopefully you'll have it finished. I don't know in terms. I don't know. Maybe you'll get into it. Maybe that's. I guess deep down, I'm kind of hoping you'll get into Wolverine's Revenge so much that's the only thing you want to play. But I understand the game will get frustrating. I know it seems kind of rough right now, but later on. Here's the thing about Wolverine's Revenge, real quick, is that you have 3 main acts that have levels all the way through, and then you eventually get to acts that are basically just boss fights. And so the game kind of feels unfinished at the end, because you'll get eventually just one level and then a boss fight, and then after that it's just a boss fight. And so the game kind of, if it's really short, it feels like it's going to be long, but once you get over this one big stretch, the game kind of wraps up extremely quickly.
That's unfortunate.
It reminds me of the way Elden Ring is structured. At the beginning, it feels very long, and then it kind of wraps up very quickly. Depending, of course, I mean, there's vast differences between the two, because obviously Elden Ring has very many ways. It's open world. You can approach it in many different ways. I'm just talking about in terms of progression, formatting of what In Elden Ring, the game, you can get Elden Ring wrapped up pretty quickly once you know what to do. So it just, with the game condensed like Wolverine's Revenge, it's just it feels long at first, and then it just really it speeds up at the very end.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. Oh, sorry.
I wonder if that was due to the fact they wanted to bring it out in line with the movie's release.
I don't know. I kind of hate to think that they would rush it out, because it's such a unique game. It has, I mean, really, I mean, yeah, it has similar plot. It has a similar plot to the movie, but it feels so different in another way. Like, I mean, did you notice how strange it was that Hugh Jackman is on the cover, yet Mark Hamill's playing as Wolverine?
When I noticed like Mark Hamill as like the credit came up for him, I was like, really, Mark Hamill? And then when I first heard his voice, I was like, it's Mark Hamill. But of course, yeah, Hugh Jackman's on the cover, so it's a bit strange.
Yeah, even when I was a kid, I was like, that doesn't sound like Hugh Jackman, and and also he just looks significantly different. I mean, like, that doesn't even look like Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. He just looks like a Wolverine that has been smoking his entire life. Which I guess technically Hugh Jackman Wolverine has been smoking all his life, but Hugh Jackman is too attractive to be, they don't. Hugh Jackman doesn't look like he's been smoking all his life.
No, it's the Australian way.
Oh yeah, that's right. He's Australian. I need to watch more movies by Hugh Jackman. By the way, it seems like the only thing I ever like to watch him in is when he's playing as Wolverine. And Van Helsing. I noticed you played that as well.
Oh, that's actually a really good game. But
Yeah.
It's good, but it's like bad good, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I played that when it first came out with the movie, and it's a game I've returned and bought so many times.
I still hate the end of that game. It's just like so like quick and done. It's like, okay.
I'll have to watch you play that. I might have to add that to my watch later list for tomorrow and just hear what you have to say about it. Yeah, that game. That I don't know. Like you said, it's so bad it's good. It's got its own kind of unique feel to it. I don't know. It's just a. I don't know. It's just one of those games that's just so strange, but it's unique.
It's another one. I swear, it's just due to the fact they wanted to align it with the movie's release, is what
They sh-
didn't help it at all. Because I recently played Catwoman, and that game is terrible. And I think it's terrible because they really had to rush this thing to get it out.
what would have been funny is that they should have got Mark Hamill to play as Van Helsing in the video game. And have like the same scrunched up smoker looking design.
Why is Luke Skywalker yelling at this Dracula dude?
I am Van Helsing.
And then just chucking a joke a laugh.
Yeah, exactly. Um, man, I love the Van Helsing movie. It's a shame they didn't. They apparently they had plans to continue that series, where Van Helsing was just going. He would continue on killing other movie monsters, whatever. But since it was such a big flop, unfortunately, but I mean, I understand how it's a bad movie, but it's a guilty pleasure. I don't know if you enjoyed it or not, but
I'm the opposite. I think it's a great movie. I enjoy the movie.
yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it too. I'm just saying it just wasn't really critically received very well, and so they just didn't make another one, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think sometimes they have like way too high expectations on how it's gonna do.
There are some really weird moments, and it's like for the most part, I enjoy watching the movie, but there's some lines that are being delivered like by Frankenstein that I'm like, why in the world did they go with that take? Where he's like, it's like go find the cure, save yourself. I'm like,
Yeah, yeah, true.
I'm like, I'm like, they could have. He's delivered lines so much better than that throughout the movie. It's almost like they were just rushing it out. I'm like, yeah, we'll just go with that one. But the guy playing as Dracula is so fantastic. Is this your silver steak?
Oh, yeah, the actor is amazing. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, but looks like we're going. My wife's gonna start calling me here in a second. So, once again, I appreciate it. And whenever you want to have a podcast, just let me know, and we'll schedule it. Once again, this seemed to work out pretty well, considering the time differences. Luckily, it's easy to keep up with in terms of So I mean, like 11 o'clock is like 11 p.m. for me right now is 11 a.m. for you right now. So in terms
Yeah.
of that, it's easy to keep up with. But it's like it's still Wednesday for me, and it's Thursday for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I can tell you from the future, the sun will rise.
But if you don't mind hanging around, so we can kind of just talk about things post recording, we'll go ahead and wrap it up here, and I'll continue talking to you afterwards.
No worries at all.
All right, if you want to go ahead and just kind of give yourself a little outro.
Well, yeah. Well, hopefully you enjoyed me ramble on about PS2 stuff. But yeah, no. If you're ever interested in checking out what I'm doing, uh, I'm on YouTube, and I will be on YouTube for the foreseeable future until I, play through 2,000 plus PS2 games. But I'm always contactable on there, and yeah, I enjoy hearing people talk about PS2 games as well. Like I love seeing people chat about. I see messages like, "Oh, thanks for helping me with this game," and that sort of stuff. So it's really good, like seeing this community slowly grow. So yeah,
Oh yes. All right. Well, that's been Psyched Plays PS2, and I hope to see you guys again very very soon.